It's the Anfield Wrap. Neil Atkinson, James McKenna, Rob Gutmann and Stuart Wright with you to talk about it. It's a funny one, the Friday Night Football. We're doing this on a Sunday. Hopefully you're listening on Sunday, but if not, it's Monday, because it actually already feels like it was ages ago. But we're pushing on to talk about Chelsea versus Liverpool, because you can't talk about it enough. A fantastic result for the Reds. Liverpool went to Stamford Bridge and won by 2-1. Much deserved result. We'll be getting onto that in a second, but as it's a Sunday, we probably asked this question before, but I thought I'd do it fast and I'd do it early. Favourite meat on a roast, James McKenna?
Chicken.
Really?
Yeah.
Wild. Did not see that coming at all. Absolutely wild. I very rarely say these things are wrong, but I think you're wrong.
Depends who's cooking it though, Neil. It's a very safe bet, that, if you're out and about.
No, you know what it is? It just reminds me of being a kid, and like me, my brother and my sister are all quite close in age. Every Sunday my mum and dad do a roast, and I always remember, like, you know, they'd vary it up sometimes, and like there'd usually be one of us who'd complain or argue or moan about something. So chicken probably was the safe bet for them, and that's what reminds me of Sunday dinners. Lamb would be the second one, but it's chicken really, and we're having chicken today, and like I'm genuinely excited.
Okay, Rob Gutmann.
If it's perfect setup, it's beef, but I do like a bit of pork with the crackling. Yeah.
Okay,
that's it.
Okay, Stu.
I'm with Jay actually, and for very similar reasons. Yeah, it's chicken for me, and it's because when I was growing up, my mum always did a roast chicken, but it was on a Saturday. It was on a Saturday, which is a bit weird, isn't it? It was always I can associate coming back from the match as a kid and walking into the kitchen and that smell of roast chicken. I mean, and me, nicking a little bit off the plate before it was set. Like,
that's my plan this afternoon.
Yeah. So, but if you're having chicken, though, it's really important. You know what you're having with it. You know, I think you've got to get your stuffing right. That's really, really important, and your gravy's got to be just right. My missus is a great cook. I'm very lucky. Yeah. So she's
not listening,
chicken.
mate.
I know. But you know what? Our dog got a mention on the show the other day by Dan Vincent, because he was going to steal me. He was going to kidnap my dog when he was painting my house, so we could try and get me to sell Jamie Vardy to me in the fancy footy. So she was furious that the dog got a mention on the show before she ever did. So there you go.
Backed it up.
Yeah. You're a great cook.
All right, for me, the right answer is lamb. Would be lamb all day.
I probably knew it anyway.
You probably did know it anyway. I think whenever we've had a roast together, Rob, which is just a disproportionately high number of times.
No, bad quality ones as well. Not them bad.
We've had some of your more mediocre roasts.
Yeah, a large range.
All right, then moving forward to talk about Chelsea versus Liverpool, because it's a joy to talk about. It's a game of two hugely positive halves. Often when it's a game of two halves, it means that the result changes. It means that one side is on top. But it wasn't. It was almost two different performances from Stu, and both of them were hugely encouraging.
Do you know what? Say that again. I really didn't think you were coming to me then.
I can do it, sir. I can answer that one.
There was a slight delay.
Can you repeat the question, please, sir?
£5 a month, Stu. I'm trying to get people to pay £5 a month for people who can't listen.
This is the free one, Neil. It's okay.
It is. It might be the free one, but it's meant to act as, you know, as a principle. This is how good the rest of it is.
I had a decision to
I've
make
been
there.
so excited about this show all weekend. I've been thinking it's a great crew. It's going to be fantastic. We're going to be talking about the Reds beating Chelsea, cracking onto the title, and it's absolutely ruined early. So, Stu, Chelsea versus Liverpool. Chelsea versus Liverpool. People would normally, when they say a football match is a game of two halves, what that means is one side runs one half, the other side runs the other half, and there's a result. But Liverpool played two very different halves of football, but both were hugely positive and hugely encouraging, and they very much deserved the win.
Yeah,
it's a hard question.
I think so. It steals a lot of the content within the question as well. I don't know where to go.
I do that all the
time. I think there's been a bit of a pattern this season in terms of we have periods of games where we absolutely look like we're capable of blowing teams away, and it was very much the case in the first half on Friday. But the thing is about the second half, as you say, it was a very different kind of performance. But save maybe 15 minutes. Other than that, within that half, it wasn't the kind of inconsistent performance that we've seen, in the other games this season, whereby I still felt we had a significant level of control. We were very disciplined within our shape. We didn't look like we were panicking. Chelsea weren't able to put us under a huge amount of pressure, apart from those few minutes that I'm talking about. So I left the game thinking, for the first time in a long time, thinking that we showed that even when we're up against it, we can still control a game. We can still see a game out, because that was the overriding impression I had towards the end.
It's it's interesting, and a sign of how I think spoiled we've become under Klopp with one specific thing, that's beating good teams. So I had sort of two little conversations in my head through that. The one conversation that was delighted we were hanging in for dear life and shitting myself and wanting us to get it over the line. The other one was, come on, can't we rub their noses in it a bit more? Can't we do them 3 or 4 like we nearly did we sort of did last season? But stripping it back, looking at in the larger picture, that's something like our 5th win in 8 seasons on that ground. This season, it's our 3rd big away performance in London against the top side. Arguably the best of those performances. We didn't actually win against Tottenham. It was the most different kind of big win against a big team for Klopp, in as much as it was a game of very, very few chances. Much more like a Benitez 2008-2009 win. And I think probably all the better for it.
It's interesting you're saying about comparing it to Benitez there. I think one of the things under Klopp is it has been, can we just see a game out? Can we just not try and play football? Can we defend? And it was almost, you have this analogy, don't you, when you can't score or you can't get a win, let's get a stuffy win, let's show ourselves we can win and grind the result out here. We actually went ahead, played really well, then we had that period where they got back into it, we were resolute, and we did just see it out. We just knew, this is what our job is now. Let's not chance it and try and get too far forward. I was actually saying to myself, when he brought Origi on, who seemed to struggle to try and be that outlet at times, I was thinking, who else have we got on the bench? Is there someone else we've got on the bench here who can maybe get a foot on it and try and slow the game down? And it was like the danger in there is that you actually change too much, that you do try and get it forward too much, and you keep giving the ball back and you increase that pressure. And it was like, no, we can just try and defend it. We've got very capable players who can defend, and I hope that serves as a reminder to them that we are capable of defending, which was a big problem. Klopp addressed it in a couple of games last season. If that was under Rodgers, we'd have been thinking there's a goal coming here. There's a goal. It's going to happen. Under Klopp, you still worry it might happen, but there were some games last year where he was like, no, you're quite capable of defending, lads. You can tackle a player, you can clear the ball, you can just launch it when you need to, and we've done that. And it was good to, and that might be a bit of a geo to the players to say, what, this is against Chelsea, a really good side, will be one of our rivals if we're expecting top 4 or even higher this year. We've actually just achieved something there, and now with the games to come, they might think to themselves, well, yeah, we can go and blow some teams away now, but when we need to call upon that, we've got that experience.
I was thinking after they scored, Diego Costa has that half chance just afterwards, and then immediately Neil's voice came into my head going, we need a big 5 minutes here. And I turned to my boys and goes, you know what Neil's saying? He goes, we need a big 5 minutes here, Dad. And
this God voice of his.
And I know the voice of God that is Neil. No, but honestly, we did have a big 5 minutes, and that was the platform. They got their heads right, and that was the platform for seeing that game out. Because after then, I stopped really, really being very, very nervous. We did the same thing against Arsenal after they get those 2 back. We really should have lost it. We should have ended up losing that game 5-4 really by our default settings of the last couple of years or so. But we had the 5 minutes there. We cleared our heads. We got it right.
Do you know? I think the ability for this team to be able to see a game out, the development in that capacity, I think is going to be so important in relation to the style that Klopp's got us playing. I said before that we have periods in games where we look like we can blow teams away, and sometimes that's going to happen. I think there'll be several times this season where within a 20-30 minute spell we'll score 3 goals. Yeah. I think that'll happen, but there'll be other games where we don't. There'll be games where we get 1, we might get 2, but we're not out of sight. And so, and the team physically, they just won't be capable of maintaining that throughout 90 minutes. A game has, both teams always have a spell in a game, don't they? And we need to be able to show, if we're going to be consistent, that we can kill a game in the periods that we're not absolutely relentless. And I think watching that the other night was one of the first times under Klopp that I thought they can do this. Actually, there was a little bit of gnarl, there was almost a little bit of spirit of Didi Hamann within there. I felt a little bit of discipline, and aggression and tactical shape that we felt comfortable.
Well, that's one of the points I was going to make. There is a similarity, isn't there, in between the two halves. The first half, you have all this intensity, and going forward on the front foot, we are full of intensity, we are full of pressing, we do get at them, we don't give them a second to rest. Even when we were defending, we didn't do the usual tactic that teams do when they come under pressure at somewhere like Stamford Bridge. They don't just fall back into, 2 banks of forward and a 2 in front trying to, work their midfield. we kept working them. We didn't just wait and clear the ball and win headers and, you know, get a last-ditch footing. We actually pressed them. We actually stopped them having time in our half. So they occupied a lot of that time. They actually, you know, they had the space. They had a lot of the ball. But we got at them. We didn't just give them the chance to, you know, knock it round in front of us, and we've just got these two banks as if, like, we're going to, you know, repel them at all times. And Mane, who makes that interception, when he gets in, he gets a foot on it. That's the classic thing. He's come back there. Our defenders are still all in their position, but he's worked hard to get back in and get a foot in. And the commentators were saying about that, you know, you'd be made up with a player like that who's clearly worked hard all game, is an attacking player, but he sees, like, I've got to work hard to get back in here now. I can't just leave it to my, you know, two full-backs and two centre-halves to deal with everything in the box. It's my job as well.
There's a growing recognition as well, just one thing there. There's a growing recognition from other teams that when teams are trying to pin us back, the initiative was definitely the impetus was with Chelsea in that second half, because they had to go for it. There's a growing recognition that actually Liverpool can be at their most dangerous at that point. Yeah. I mean, the clearest cut chance in the second half was Origi's.
Yeah.
You know, and that was during a period absolutely, and that was during a period of the match where Chelsea have got to commit everything forward. They've got to be the dominant team.
Well, what's interesting on that is, and I thought you saw it second half, we've talked ad infinitum, probably now for 3 years, about playing it out from the back. But what I noticed second half, and Jay's hinted at it as well there, Stu, was you'd see little pockets, say, in the left-back position. There was one point in the left-back position where we took a minute out of the game, passing it round between four players. And simultaneously, what's happening there is there's three Chelsea players having to make sprint after sprint after sprint after sprint. And then finally, someone just launches it up the line. It got to the point where it's like, well, there's no other option on, and now it just goes up the line. But it took 60 seconds out the game where Chelsea haven't got the ball. It meant three of their attacking players are running around like headless chickens, trying to get it back because they can't not. They're getting beat at home. You know what I mean? And they probably think, you know what, if we can nick it back here, we're going. But as soon as it wasn't the right time to do that, and the manager was talking to them all game about keeping playing, I thought it was dead interesting. You could see him saying, keep playing, keep playing, keep playing. And you can see that's obviously an ideal of football, but it's hugely pragmatic. You just took a minute out the game and shattered three of their lads there who, if the ball comes back into that area, they're all desperate for a breather. They need the ball to go out now.
Yeah, and you can see it's not just something that the defence are thinking about. There was a moment there, I think we probably all saw, where Sturridge is telling Mignolet to calm down. Mignolet was going to, for once, it seemed like he was going to release an early ball and send us away on a counter-attack, when actually the intelligent thing to do was just to slow the game down for a few minutes because Chelsea, absolutely, and Sturridge was very clearly telling Mignolet, no, just take your time. And, you know, Mignolet did listen. And then I also think that the notion of James Milner playing at left back has raised a lot of eyebrows this season. But the experience, the game intelligence that he has and that he brings to our defence, just like in the pocket of play that you were just talking about there, I think that is invaluable for our defence. You're looking for leaders within that defence, but is there anyone more of a leader in that back four than James Milner, regardless of whether he's playing left back or not?
Or common influence.
Absolutely. A lot of our players going through him, but I find it very, very reassuring. Whether he's a natural left back or not, I find it very, very calming for me as an observer. That he is present in that back four, and he's talking people through, and he has the game intelligence to be able to take time out of the game like that.
You're not seeing a mistake in James Milner. That's the difference. You're not seeing he's going to make the dramatic mistake. The way he's going to get caught out is, in behind.
Yeah, physically, not mentally.
Yeah, exactly. He's not going to miss kick the ball. He's not going to pass it straight to one of their players. He's going to, his mistake will be if just the wing is fast and he gets around them. And there's nothing he can do about that. He's not going to intentionally, be out of position kind of thing. The other good thing for him, I think, is he links up well with the midfield because he knows how they play. He knows not to just play it up the line aimlessly because he knows, that player doesn't want it up the line aimlessly because it's going to come straight back to him, and James Milner's got to be back doing his job then automatically. So we can play that pass inside, which I don't, not just to bring up Moreno again, but I don't think Moreno thinks that way. The same way as Milner's. It's that calm and influence.
Moreno wants to get going.
He wants to get going. But as James Milner knows, keep the ball, play that pass inside and then take it back again. Maybe I'll give it back to him and then we'll have found space. And we've done that plenty of times in the second half against Chelsea. We'd knocked the ball backwards and forwards a couple of times and Chelsea had finally a player would just move out of position because they were at home, they were getting beat.
Do you know
they needed to come at us, and as soon as they did, Liverpool were intelligently right, okay, he's out of position now, then we'll move into that space.
Do you know what helps when you've got a right-footed fullback as well in that position? If you're coming under pressure, if you think about it, they're coming onto our midfield, so Wijnaldum was getting the ball facing pressure, so he immediately had to turn back towards his own goal.
Yeah.
So his pass isn't down the line to a sprinter, it's back semi-sideways or inside, and he's coming on to Milner's right. Milner's always available for Wijnaldum in that second half and later period. It's always on Milner's right foot, so he can take it, have a look, play another sensible ball. It's never a rush ball, it's not a two-touch control. It's always perfect for him. I mean, it's working really well there. My overall feeling of that second half was what a fascinating example it was of how two teams managed their fitness, one better than the other. Chelsea, we didn't just see out that game. Chelsea blew themselves out. We used the fitness and the energy we had gave us 45 minutes of dominance. Chelsea, while watching us and chasing shadows in that first half, came out realising they had to fight, but they played an incredible intense pressing game on us, but it was 12 minutes worth. That's all it was, and they were done after that, totally spent.
On that first half then, which I think has an impact on what you're saying there, Rob, is I think Jay's referenced it there, he's referenced it more in the second half setting, but in the first half, I thought Liverpool, after about 5 minutes were on the clock, I looked at it at 15 and thought we deserved to be ahead. We moved them all over the pitch. As Jay says, they want to come and get it back. They know they're at home, and we're just wait until the man overcommits, pulls himself a little bit out of position, and now suddenly Liverpool have got another. It was almost like it was attacking with a series of bridgeheads. It wasn't the idea of one attack that takes everything in its wake and suddenly we're in on goal. It was instead right, and now we're another 15 yards up the pitch and in complete control of the situation. And now we're another 15 yards up the pitch and in complete control of the situation. And I thought it was in the way in which it can also be a little bit boring. It was Liverpool's most mature attacking performance. Maturity can at times be a little boring. There's a lot to be said for impetuosity, but the Liverpool, they absolutely, they were just pulling Chelsea left and right. Yeah, the interesting thing was Conte did what you would expect a stereotypical Italian manager to do, faced against a team who were going to play like Liverpool, which was to be conservative. They said they played like the away side, Chelsea. That's how they set themselves up, and we played with enormous intensity. If they were going to set themselves relatively deep, we had to hit them early. We couldn't let them settle in possession. And I thought the way that Henderson prompted and Wijnaldum and Lallana were in their faces, as you said, in that sort of very structured way, was fascinating. What it didn't allow us to see was those 1-2s. We didn't have Firmino. You weren't seeing Firmino, Mane, Sturridge, zip, getting in behind because they were too deep for that. But as you said, we were systematically breaking them down. And although the sort of the winning goal is a wonder goal of sorts, it is part of the plan in a way. If you've pushed a team back, pegged them back that much, you do get that yard of space.
Well, I was just about to say then, I think Liverpool, as well as, it was on the agenda about occupying space, I think Liverpool have overloaded Chelsea in certain areas, and the 2 goals actually come from that. They know that Liverpool can either play it short on a free kick, go deep. They've got players in the box. We had 2 or 3 players at that back post, ready for that kind of ball. Obviously, Sturridge is there, but it drops to Lovren, who scores a goal. Now, Chelsea can't just move 3 of their defenders back there to look after those 3, because they were, Lovren and Sturridge are 2, certainly 2 players that their best, centre-half should be looking to mark. But they know we've got Coutinho, they know we've got Lallana, they know we've got other players who can happily take that ball short and drive into that space if they do drop back. But Henderson's goal particularly, I know it's the classic thing you'd do at a lower league level. It's a classic thing you'd see at Sunday League, that the ball's getting taken over on that left-hand side, such the throw's getting taken or the free kick or the corner. When there's something going over there, players naturally drift over. Whereas in the past, I've noticed Liverpool, and even at this level, they tend not to. Teams don't send 3 or 4 players over there. Whereas we did. We had 3 or 4 players over there, and Jordan Henderson just had loads of space. I was actually watching it on a stream, and it was slightly behind, and I seen the notification coming that Henderson had scored. It was slightly like, and I'd seen him scored, and I was able to watch it for like 30 seconds, thinking, where is he on the pitch? And I was thinking, he's there. It's just literally just out of shot. All them players are there, are occupying Chelsea, and he's just out of shot. He's gonna belt this, and the next minute he does. It drops to him, and he's just in loads of space. Now, Jordan Henderson shouldn't have that much space in Chelsea's half, 30 yards out. Not because they think he's going to put a top in, but because they think we shouldn't want him to have time on a pass to find someone else, because one of our players, as we did, is going to have to run out to him.
And they've got Kante and Matic playing for them.
Yeah, they've got them players whose job it is to do that. He had all this space, was because we'd overloaded them in that area. We'd actually stopped the idea that they could come out and press us. We just occupied them. Henderson gets this space, most times he'll probably look for a pass on that, and instead he just puts it in the top bin and amazes everyone.
It's the idea, I think, that you've got players who can take one lad out the game there, Stu, in that's why you've got to double up, and that's what Jay's referring to. So Henderson ends up with the space for that goal, because if you're Chelsea, you're thinking, Lallana can beat me one-on-one. Whoever you are, he might not do. I mean, 5 times out of 10 he might not. But even if you're Kante, as good a player as Kante is, you're thinking Lallana can beat me, he can get away from me, he can get a yard. So I need help in here. And I know that these lads, they all need help. They need me backing them up. So if they've each got their man, well, I've got to be aware of the fact that Wijnaldum can probably beat me one-on-one. Lallana I know can, Mane can, Coutinho can go past 2 of us, 3 of us, as can Mane, and Sturridge is very, very adept at getting a yard. So this is what this Liverpool side's able to do. It's actually put itself in this position where there's tons of lads on this pitch who need to be doubled up against. And as soon as you've got that, as soon as you've got this idea that the opposition are concerned that we've got to make sure we've always got at least one covering man, if not 2, for these lads, it becomes harder and harder, doesn't it, in order to be able to defend properly? And that's how Liverpool first half were able to pull Chelsea around, because constantly they've got lads thinking, well, I've not just got to worry about what I've got to do, but I've got to back up as well.
It's fantastic, that, isn't it? It's what we've been crying out for years. When we've looked at Liverpool in recent years, we felt at times a bit pedestrian going forward. We've constantly had the notion of we need one more. We need someone who can offer that threat in behind. We need someone who can take on a man, who can create that space. And it's not just with the addition of Mane, but with other changes like the change of position for Lallana, the addition of Wijnaldum in midfield, which, his pace, he was perpetual motion the other night, I thought, always offering options. And you are giving the opposition, regardless of how disciplined their shape is, you're giving them questions that they've got to answer. Really difficult, challenging questions. You're stretching them all over the pitch. And if you're thinking about Rafa's blanket, there's always going to be, when you're stretching them that much, there's always going to be a part that is uncovered, and Liverpool have shown that they're able to identify those gaps and play into them. I also thought just on the goal there and the previous one as well, I noticed Klopp said something after the match just about how sharp we were at the set pieces, and it just took me back to a couple of things really. First of all, Luis Suarez, I always felt that he came alive when the ball went dead, and that was an old Liverpool saying, wasn't it? The coaches used to say in training, apparently, when the ball goes dead, we come alive. And I thought the 2 goals, it was very, very clear the different attitudes, the different mindsets of the 2 teams there. Chelsea looked very casual. They weren't looking sharp. They weren't retreating into the necessary positions quick enough. But Liverpool were going. Liverpool were ahead, and Liverpool were identifying gaps on the pitch and were able to exploit them.
Yeah, they were. I was left with mixed feelings on Chelsea. At times in that game, I was thinking, they're no mugs, these. They're no mugs. These are better than Arsenal. These are better than Spurs. And yet, when you watch it back and you think they really didn't cause us very many problems in the entire game. I think what they were was much harder to break down. It was harder for us to look spectacularly better than them, even though we had our moments in the first half.
They're all very neat and tidy. To me, it looked a little bit like,
and you could penetration.
See where they were at the most terrifying, and I don't think he had that good a game. But Hazard scares the life out of you.
Yes, but he didn't have a good game, did he?
No, but he's like a lion. You know what I mean? He's one of those who walks around like a footballer. You know what I mean? All the way through the game, you see the arch of his back, and he just looks like. And you can see how they're thinking. Well, we've got this lad in Costa who knows exactly how to put it in the back of the net. We've got this lad who's hugely creative, and arguably the other 4 lads in midfield, all of whom I think are good players, but they're all tidy players. I think Willian's marvellous, but I don't know, I think he could do with a manager who says, you know what, mate, express yourself a bit more, because he's
strange player, isn't he?
Yeah, he's
brilliant, and yet
it doesn't look like he's going to do your numbers. You know what I mean?
No.
But it also looks like he hasn't got license to. If it really feels as though he's told, you've got to just do this straightforward, this job here, mate, and you just sort of wonder if someone would go, right, free him up, how good he could be. The thing about
numbers
that
is a good point, that actually.
But I think the other thing about that, though, in comparison to us, and this is the tightrope that we walk to a certain extent, Rob, but is that unlike us, they don't attack from all angles.
No.
What I was actually thinking about when I was on the train back from London was, I was thinking about 2 things. One was what we're saying there about, well, not just have you got to worry about those midfielders, but also Klein and Milner can arrive. And now suddenly Matip looks happy enough to run 30, 40 yards up the pitch.
Yeah.
So you've got this idea that you can attack from all angles. But the other thing that occurred to me was, the best thing that could happen against Hull, the best thing literally that could happen for Liverpool against Hull would be for Henderson to put another 25 yards in. because what that means is now
he can do it all the time.
Because then, if you're the opposition, you're thinking, well, we've got to come out when he picks the ball up 25 yards from goal. We've got to go to him now.
Yeah.
The old Steven Gerrard thing, isn't it?
That's again creating a bit more space. At least one man's got to close him down. If he bangs another 25 yarder in, and suddenly everyone's going, oh no, what you've got to do? So you've got to deal with these lads in here, these fullbacks coming from here, this centre half who could come up, and now this lad can just slam it in.
I like this about. I remember early in the season, actually, it might have been the first game or something like that, asking about Wijnaldum. I'm not quite sure what his job is, what he offers. He was much more advanced in this game. He got forward so much more. Now wasn't necessarily making incisive passes, wasn't necessarily taking shots, wasn't necessarily seemingly a threat. But again, he occupied that space forward, and it gives that defender, it gives that midfielder a choice to make. Then he doesn't he? Well, do I leave Lallana? Do I leave Henderson? Do I leave Sturridge? Do I leave Mane? In other times, Firmino? Do I leave them and go to him to close him down? Because he's not going to shoot, but maybe he might. One time, like Jordan Henderson did, maybe he is going to have a pop and he's going to score a goal. But if I don't go to him, he is just going to keep advancing. And then he will shoot. Yeah. And I've got to make that decision. I can't have left him because I assume he doesn't score 25 yarders. Liverpool haven't had enough shots from outside the box
that are threatening. In recent years.
We did. It's always been a criticism, even when we had Alonso. But when we do it, it gives you another option, because it always used to be, if it's outside the box, Steven Gerrard's going to have a shot here. But if it's Alonso, he's going to look for a pass. Having a player like Henderson now, who maybe might think, well, I can do either or. Lallana, who has found a bit more bravery in shooting, he can do either or. It's suddenly a question for defenders to think, what do I do?
It reminds you mentioned Gerrard there, but I actually think the better comparison's Lampard. In that when Lampard was playing for Chelsea and when Chelsea were at the best, one of the ways in which Chelsea create space was everyone would be thinking, you can't let Lampard have it.
Yeah.
No. You cannot let Lampard have it 20 yards, 25 yards from goal. You've got to get out to him. And then once you've got out to him, if he just lays it off or just finds another easy pass, suddenly there's going to be holes and there's going to be space. And I think the other thing as well, and Jay's referenced it there, Rob, the other thing that I think we're doing in that first half is we're constantly making their players make decisions. Yeah. And if you've got to constantly make decisions and you can't play as per the instruction of the manager pre-match, it gets harder and harder. And by the shit, you can be as good a footballer as you want to be. If you've got to make 20 decisions, it's like in any walk of life. If you've got to make 20 decisions in your job, you're not going to get 20 right. You might get 19, you might get 18, but when you don't get the one that you get wrong, well then that's where suddenly everyone else has now got even more decisions to make and all hell begins to break loose.
Yeah, and it's a product of, the big focus is about pressing and Gegen pressing or whatever, Klopp's trademarks have been. It's about tempo. What he's getting is play at tempo, then you force the decisions. They have to think, if you're the one deciding that you're going to move fast, everything is going to be done quickly, then you're forcing those decisions. What's interesting as well is there has to be two scenarios. Klopp realises the teams will let you who want to push up on you and want to counter you and therefore leave space in behind, and we've got these artists who can pick a lock of a defence easily, or if they sit back. Now this is why I think Klopp's long had, maybe unlike a few previous managers, shoot on sight policies with his midfielders. Coutinho, a lot of us we still groan sometimes at the fact at his over anxiousness to shoot, but he's clearly instructed to do so. I think if you've got a team parking the bus, sitting off you, you've got to find other ways, and I think that's what's going on. And it's interesting that both those goals are against a team that is at that moment very, very deep.
I think what you said there, Neil, about we're constantly asking questions, and Chelsea's the night they're constantly having to think throughout the 90 minutes about the shape, the discipline. Where's he going? Where do I need to be now? I think that might also contribute to the fact of why we might find it more difficult against teams who are more used to parking the bus. Because if you look at a team like Chelsea, the top teams, they're used to dominating the ball, they're used to dictating the play within the game, and they're not used to, for 90 minutes, having to think in that regard. But your Burnleys of this world, your lower half teams, they're having to think like that far more often. Their training will be based around that at a significant portion of the season, whereas the top 4, top 5 teams, they're not thinking about like that throughout training. They're thinking about being on the front foot and making things happen and breaking teams down. So it might seem counterintuitive, but a better team is probably less equipped to be able to cope defensively against us. I might just be talking crap there, to be honest with you, but there seems to be some kind of logic to that to me.
The fact that they feel as though they should be able to impose themselves a little bit more, but they're having to deal with all this. Yeah. And I think that's the key part. And also, you're so tired if we're playing well. You're so tired from dealing from all this that you've got the other things. The thing I took from it, and it reminds me of something that, for instance, Souness always seems to say, and Carragher and Gerrard have said it. The thing that I took from the first half, Stu, especially, was how hard we were passing to each other. That lads are absolutely webbing the ball at one another, but just trusting that it's going to be under control by the time, you know what I mean? That whoever it is who's going to receive it's going to get it under control. And it was this or this side. It was just everything along the ground, pum, 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 and it was I'm watching thinking they're kicking the ball so hard, and it's almost ridiculous, almost like a childish response to watching a side play well. But I couldn't believe how aggressively they were in the way in which they're treating each other with the football. Bang, you get that under, and if the idea you can intercept that, Jesus, you can't get near it.
And right from the first whistle as well. If we compare to last week against Leicester, we felt our way into the game there. There was a number of occasions, I can think of Klein, I can think of Mane, amongst others, where the waiting on the ball wasn't right. It wasn't as aggressive, the passing, like you've described there. But for the other night, it really was right from the off. I noticed in the tunnel, in the tunnel before the game that Jordan Henderson was doing his best Roy Keane impression.
He was, wasn't he? Really?
Oh God, yeah.
Steely.
They were. The players were so pumped up for it. I think I can't imagine how motivating Klopp's team talk must have been just before they left the dressing room, because they were so fired up, and that was very clear in all aspects of the play, including the passing. Steven Gerrard used to always say that in training, he'd test the player out, wouldn't he? Because he'd be firing balls at them, in the little passing drills, and testing out their ability control and setting that tempo. And that was a real joy to see the other night, because, as you say, what can you do about that? No matter how good a team you are defensively, even if you've got an Italian manager who's known for that, if the team you're playing are perpetual motion, if they're intelligent in their movements and absolutely pinging the ball into each other and able to control it, and one-touch passing as well around it, I mean, Jesus, it's very, very hard to stop that throughout the game, isn't it? There's going to be moments where that team break through.
Yeah. Reminds me of when Suarez was the focal point. He demanded the ball so vertically, so quickly. He didn't mind losing it either. He demanded they blam it at him, and he'd flick it, spin it, go it. I mean, Mane was occasionally losing it and saying my Danny was getting a bit frustrated with him in a couple of patches. And I said, that's what you've got to do. If you want to play at tempo, you've got to take those risks as well. There wasn't. I mean, they were controlling an enormous amount of the time. They're clearly practicing this and really good at it, but not all the time.
But also, they were the home team. So us doing that, us coming out with that thing, and it's that thing, isn't it? It's almost like the European performance thing, isn't it? Get their fans quiet in the first 10 minutes, get them frustrated at their own players.
They were silent on 20. Yeah. I couldn't believe it in the ground, how quiet that ground was.
Even if, we do lose the ball, as you say there, even if Mane tries something and we lose the ball, the only action that they're doing is defending or clearing the ball. Now, you're a fan, you're like, we're just in our own half here. We're not even getting on the ball. You can have as many touches as you want offensively. No fans made up with that. Oh, we're brilliant. We've had 50 touches defensively. Because all they're seeing is Liverpool coming back at them again. Liverpool just kept persisting with doing it. So, what I liked about that first half particularly was, we know we've got lots of players of technical ability. We know we've got players who can, I'm sure, do it day after day in training, take a pass quickly, pass it straight back to somebody else. We done that with quality. We done that with movement. We done that against Chelsea, against very, very good players. I think there's probably a question, and we clearly targeted them in the first half. Again, it's that overload thing. I seem to think a lot more, and maybe that's why we see a bit more in Milner. I think we went down our left-hand side an awful lot. Ivanovic, certainly in the first 20-25 minutes, was ragged. He looks like a player whose legs are gone now, I think.
Should have had a booking, shouldn't he?
Yeah, he should have had a booking early, but I think he looks like a player whose legs have gone now. And he's on the slide. Because there were times where Klein, and this way we were going down the left so much, but Chelsea was still fearful because Klein had been oceans, and you're thinking, I don't think none of our midfielders are going to do it. I don't think he's got that passing range, but if Emre Can was on the pitch, you were thinking he's going to pick Klein out here. Someone pick Klein out now, because he's only got the left back to beat. He'll be in on goal. But they still had to be worried about that. Chelsea's back four was stretched. That left back, I can't remember who was left back. Was it Aspilicueta? No.
Yes, he was, yeah.
He was like 20 yards away from his centre-half because he knew he couldn't tuck in too much because Klein was just literally staying out wide. He wasn't quite hugging the touchline, but he was fairly wide.
And if there's one thing Hazard doesn't do is give you cover.
Yeah, well, that was the problem. He knew he was in the space. Klein, plenty of times, was in that space between the 18-yard box, halfway between the 18-yard box and the halfway line. I don't know how many yards that is, unfortunately, off the top of my head.
We could probably do the maths if we all worked out.
We did the maths, but Stu can't even remember questions, and that's so let's not get into that.
35 yards.
So they've got that problem of they don't know what Liverpool are going to do. So we went down the left an awful lot of times and we targeted Ivanovic and we overloaded them in certain areas. But Chelsea had to think what we were going to do. They were thinking, well, what's this player going to do when he plays this pass into me now? Is he going to lay it off? Is he going to give it back to the person who's passed it to him? Is he going to try and get in behind? Is he going to lay it off to Sturridge? Is he going to give it to me? Their thinking so much just meant that Liverpool, I think, just had it just become easier for us to just automatically do it on autopilot. We just knew to keep doing this thing because Chelsea didn't have a response to it. When they did in the second half, we just decided, well, we're just going to play a bit differently.
Sorry, Stu. I thought our leader in doing this from the word go, who without him, the others don't do it, is Adam Lallana. He knows a player I've been very cynical about, but Jesus Christ, he was good. I don't know if it came across in the ground, but on telly,
it very much
he was. I thought his energy level, he's going to be done by half time, totally done. But he kept on going. He was phenomenal. Just a one-man pressing team.
Should we do the back to the front then, and we can talk about Lallana then? You've segued neatly. We'll start with the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper, I thought, had a very good game, to be honest with you. Nothing he can do for the goal. It's one of them in the same way that there's very, very little that Courtois can do for Jordan Henderson's goal, which is one of the best things about it. Courtois has got very, very long arms, and there's nothing he can do about that. Yeah. Jay, he's strangely with the keeper at the moment, and that he's being the goalkeeper, which he always should have been, in that he's not, again, he's not putting in performances that make you think you're in the absolute top echelons of this league, but he is at least doing what he should be doing and doing it well. He came for a couple of big punches as well towards the back end of the first half.
Yeah, he came for crosses, which was good. He didn't do nothing wrong, as you say, and as Stu said, he was a bit calmer. He was even killing the game himself with, taking his time on goal kicks, which frustrated Chelsea enormously, both players and fans. But he was smart enough to do it. It wasn't like his time in the UEFA Cup last year where he decided to hold on to it for a ridiculous amount of time. He just knew where to push the boundaries. He killed the game for us in that respect. And it may be that thing is that, he knows Karius is back now. He knows he's got it, this pressure's going to come. That's a good thing for us. I think, though, he deserves to stay in the team, even if Karius is back fit. He deserves to keep playing because he isn't doing nothing wrong at the minute as yet.
He didn't do a lot. I watch Mignolet, unfortunately, far too closely because he's become a thing for me. So I will be prone towards the unfair on him. But he came for three things. One, he punched superbly. One, he punched badly down to the edge of the box, right to one of their men, and one he missed altogether. So I'm not giving him a nice tick, a tick and a 7.5 out of 10.
I'm going to have to go back and watch Mignolet punches here because I thought he was better than that, Rob.
I think you're being harsh on the one that goes there to the box.
I was taking notes. I was taking notes and writing them down and sending. No, look, that wasn't it. Generally, Mignolet has had a reasonable start to the season. Not enough to calm me down. I don't like his approach to goalkeeper, and I can't hide that. Maybe that's what I don't like. That there was I know there's this thing Stu talks about where Sturridge tells him to hold it, but for earlier parts in the game, he doesn't ever get rid of the ball quickly. He never puts us on the counter, really. There's a moment where Courtois shows you exactly what a good goalkeeper does for you in terms of your attacking play. He collects it and it's out of his hands before you can blink. There's almost never a time when Mignolet can get it out of his hands, even when he's quick about it. And to me, that's a tactical problem. It doesn't make him a dreadful goalkeeper. I just don't think
it makes him what he is, which is one of the probably best 6 to 8 goalkeepers in the country. Yeah,
I'll go a couple of places below that, but yeah,
you didn't in the summer.
What did I give him? 23rd?
You said he was the 8th best keeper in the summer.
Did I?
Yeah, we did. We all sat round, and I want to talk to you about this.
I was probably being nice.
No, you weren't. I said list every player you'd have from a Premier League who you think could improve Liverpool. And you listed 7 goalkeepers. You didn't list 10 goalkeepers. You didn't list 12 goalkeepers. You listed 7 goalkeepers. Okay. So he's the 8th best goalkeeper in the country.
That I know about.
Christ, you're on the stand here, mate.
I'm sick of the
prosecution rests.
My point is, I was lying. You're not going to make me say to you that he's terrible and awful.
No, that's what I don't want to do. I don't want anyone to say that he's terrible and awful. But what I think,
I haven't changed.
I think we're all acting as that. You know what I think that you could quite easily end up if you flip the Mignolet and Courtois performances. and what happens in the game.
Yeah.
You can quite easily have people saying, yeah, I know they were two really, really good chances, but there's some keepers in the country who, for instance, save you the points in there and keep one of them out.
Can I have Adam Mealia in with me next time we talk about
Adam Smith?
No, not Adam Smith, Adam Mealia.
Adam Mealia doesn't talk about football, so you're not going to get that.
Yeah, he talks about Mignolet, though.
He doesn't talk about football.
In the privacy of his own home. Or
well,
with me on the
he'll
internet.
only do it in the privacy of his own home.
What you do in the privacy of your own home with Adam Mealia, mate?
Hi, Adam, I hope you're listening to this.
It's your business. No, but I think this is the key thing. The key thing is that, honestly, if it's Mignolet and he concedes either of those two Chelsea goals, someone's saying, but when did he last make a big save for us? You know what I mean? I'm not saying that they were easy, but when did
I'll chip in there, because I remember saying this about the Dortmund game, in fact, where I think he could have, I think that's where you get the next level up keeper, but he's not that keeper. I think we've got to learn to accept this. He's not that keeper.
He's 6 to 8 in the
and I'm going to disagree with Rob on the quick counter attack. I do recall, and maybe it was because it feels so long ago, even though it still is only the usual 2 days between a Saturday and Monday. There were times where he had the ball in his hands, and I seem to remember him bowling it out to the fullbacks to get the ball out of his hands and get it into their feet and let them play football. So if anyone's got any YouTube compilations of Simon Mignolet touches from the Chelsea game, send them to me and Rob, and we'll have an argument on Twitter for you.
Do you know, I thought Mignolet had a decent game, to be fair. I think he had a decent game. Did most things that were asked of him. But I've got my two issues with Mignolet are related. Number one, and I think it's the one that most people have got with him, it's his distribution, whether that's with his hands or whether that's on the deck. But the number two, it's his decision making with his distribution, because it feels like when you're watching him, it feels like he's trying to improve it. It feels like he's trying to take on board what the coaches are saying to him, what the players are saying to him, but he's acting by instruction rather than instinct. So that Sturridge moment was a perfect example of that. He was under the instruction from the coaching staff or players, to release the ball earlier, to get the counter-attack going. But that wasn't right in that moment of the game. You've got to show that game intelligence. And I don't think that he has enough presence of mind when it comes to releasing the ball to make the correct decision in the moment. So regardless of how well he ever improves his distribution, which I think is very difficult for a goalkeeper to do with the type of goalie that he is, but regardless of if he was able to do that, I'm not totally convinced that he'll always make the greatest decisions in the spirit of the moment in a game, knowing whether to kill a game, knowing whether to go now. I just don't feel it's been part of his makeup as a goalkeeper throughout of his career, and now it would be nigh on impossible for him to change that.
I've got no doubt about that. That's not me. That's not my wider point. My wider point is just that he's not
the worst.
Yeah, or even anywhere near the worst. He's in the top half of the goalkeepers in this country.
I would agree with that.
He's probably one of the top 40 goalkeepers in the world.
And in this game, he done
literally in the world. He's one of the best 40 people in the world. Is his job.
I don't know enough goalies to think that point. But in this game, he done the things he needs him to do. He come and
no neutral could slaughter him for that.
No, he couldn't. He's done a job. It's a 7 out of 10 for him.
I think when we think of Liverpool goalkeepers, we do think of goalkeepers that have had great intelligence, great understanding of the game in Grobler, Reina, and Clem, and he just doesn't have that. And for me as a Liverpool fan, whenever I'm thinking about whether a player is a Liverpool player, that phrase, he's a Liverpool player, the first thing that always comes to mind with me is, does he have game intelligence? Is he an intelligent player? A perfect example of that for me is the difference between Ryan Babel and Mane.
Yeah.
They look like they have, initially they look like they have very, very similar physical attributes and skill. It looks like
way of playing and that. Yeah.
But Mane looks like he's a player who's a few steps ahead upstairs, whereas Ryan Babel wasn't. And that's the thing I think with Mignolet. Mignolet, I think, is one of the best shot stoppers in the Premier League as a goalkeeper. I think he's a phenomenal shot stopper. I do genuinely think that. Maybe not in recent times as much, because it has felt like a shot. The opposition have a shot that goes in. But over his course of his Liverpool career, I felt he's been a really, really good shot stopper, and that was something that Liverpool missed towards the end of Rangers'
good at one-on-ones as well.
But that intelligence, it's just not there for me in the spirit of the moment.
But on Mignolet, and I said this up, Moreno, and I agree with you. Just say I agree. I don't like having him in goal for us. I do worry. I think something's going to go wrong. Same, the way people, I'm sure, now do about Moreno. I worry something's going to go wrong. I think, Karius is, from what I've seen of him, is a better goalkeeper. I'd like us to bring Karius in at some point. But and I think it's fine for us to disagree. I think it's it's something that's disappeared certainly on this podcast at times with the way people react to us on the internet, or in the ground, people's ability to disagree with each other about it and say, well, no, I just disagree. I think he's this, and that's fine. But I think Mignolet now has got this problem, and this come up. It's come up here. We've had a bit of a lengthy discussion on Simon Mignolet in a game which Simon Mignolet didn't really do much wrong. And I think the danger he's got now is he'll always be that Simon Mignolet, regardless of what he does in a game. We'll always be thinking, should he do something better? And that's why Neil's point about those 2 goals are spot on. If Costa scores a goal equivalent to Jordan Henderson's, we'll probably be like, should have saved that.
Position could be
better. Or
the
Lovren goal. The Lovren goal maybe is more one of them. That Courtois is a great goalkeeper. He can't save that because not only is the direction of the ball from Lovren really good, he hits it into the ground. Now, if Costa... Now Lovren doesn't mean to hit that into the ground. Let's be honest. Dejan Lovren's imagining in his head he's Steven Gerrard, as he's prone to do sometimes, and he's leathered that in.
Put that top in, hasn't he?
He's put that in, and instead it's hit his foot and he's still made up with it. But if that was Mignolet, I could only imagine, and myself included, how I'd be reacting to Simon Mignolet right now.
And on that, just to shift this along, I think Nathaniel Klein has a perfectly good 7 out of 10 game.
Yeah, he's not.
And that literally, very well.
I think he plays very well indeed. He
wasn't involved so much. Liverpool didn't use that flank as much, and as our team could drift inside an awful lot. He didn't try and get around him an awful lot. I think he looked good.
I thought he was very, very good. I mean, it's you start picking your men of the match, and you realise, geez, I haven't mentioned Jordan Henderson, who's probably man of the match. You know what I mean? It's every. I thought I came at the end. I'm certain it's Adam Lallana, and then I went, maybe it's Ronaldo.
For once though, we still got loads of players to go, but for once, your man of the match in this game for us is someone who's outstanding and not a 7 out of 10 player. Your man of the match is someone who scored 9, 10 maybe in this game. The way Liverpool played.
Yeah.
Just on Nathaniel Klein. I mean, Nathaniel Klein gave a Nathaniel Klein performance, and that's great, isn't it? Yeah. That's just, you just know what it is, and it's just so reassuring. I'll take a Nathaniel Klein typical performance every game of the season, quite happy.
I think he's the best right back in the country.
Yeah, I agree.
I think Kyle Walker's getting it only because of he looks more all action. I think Nathaniel Klein's better than him.
All right, then next one is we're going to do the left back next. When you're talking about candidates for man of the match, he's there or thereabouts, Rob. I thought that Milner was excellent all the way through the game. I think the stint he puts in is huge. As I think it was Jay who said before, the only thing you think's going to beat him is raw pace at this point. And I'm sure. I mean, I quite like to. I was contemplating the other day which Liverpool players would I most like to interview, and I'd have James Milner quite high on the list because I'd almost like to get him to say, "Yeah, I'd rather not be playing left back." But yeah, I really want to play 90 minutes every week, so I'll do whatever I've got to do. And, at the minute, it's very difficult to see how you'd move him back into centre midfield, into that midfield 3. But it's very, very difficult to see why you wouldn't just keep playing him left back. He might not get the game against Derby. He might be allowed to sit down for that one. Because there was a point in the second half where I was watching him shuttle, thinking, you must be shattered, lad. You're 30 years old, for God's sake. But, he's doing the job.
Yeah, Klopp's been vindicated. I would say if you nudging the majority weren't happy to see him as the answer to the Moreno problem. But I think what Klopp's more or less gone and done is he's probably had the theory you've had for years about left back nearly go, look, Ali Sissoko nearly plays left back most of the season in the Liverpool title winning team. James Milner is a quality player. The ideal positions he'd like to play in the current Liverpool setup weren't there for him, but you need him on the football pitch. You need him on the football pitch more than you need a mediocre lad who can only play left back. That's the bottom line. That's what Klopp's going to say. He is so intelligent, so complete as a footballer that he will do us a job there. There's probably a better job, maybe slightly weaker than a perfect specialist would do, but in other ways will compensate. And it's a good bit of management, and also just what a fantastic character player Milner is.
As a left footer, and someone who, as a kid, played left back, there's probably a left back union that are going to expel me for saying this, but Liverpool play better with right-footed left backs.
Yeah.
Stops to think about it.
Yeah, well, I always thought this about Glenn Johnson. I always thought Glenn Johnson was prone to sort of drifting in games because it was comfortable for him on the right hand side. When he played left back, he had to think about it more. But also John Flanagan, where he's played there, Jamie Carragher, who's played there. Liverpool play better with right.
But even Steve Nicol.
Yeah,
even the ball, but it's the ball. Well, I mean, Steve
Rob Jones was a great left back,
but Rob Jones. But it's actually, I think it's also having the ball inside. I don't think it's just the idea of you've got to concentrate more.
Because most of our players on the pitch are right-footed.
Yeah,
most of the players on the pitch are right-footed.
So Liverpool looked better in the 13-14 season when John Flanagan was playing left back.
I think so.
He was coming into midfield. He was offering that extra.
I think so. Well, this was one of the surprising things for me about when we sent him out on loan, because I was thinking, well, he can play left back.
Also,
But he's clearly discovered that James Milner can as well.
Who sends their wingers down the outside? It's only Yannick Bolasie in the entire league that goes down the outside of a fullback.
And James Milner's great at that sliding tackle. Still for them things. James Milner, the pace might do him, but James Milner, if he's tracking that player, is great at a sliding tackle.
Yeah,
so
but
he's fine.
It's at least there was a time where you go left-sided fullback is going to face most of his threat from a right-footed winger going down the outside.
I reckon I discovered why I was a crap left back. I wasn't right-footed.
There you go.
I think it's pretty clear to people that I've got a soft spot for James Milner. I think he's brilliant. I've named me. I'm the manager of Milner's Kitchens and Bathrooms in the Roto Fantasy League. We're thinking of expanding into conservatories next year as well. But I think he's an absolutely tremendous player. I think he adds so much to us upstairs. On the pitch, wherever he plays, and I did struggle to see him getting into our midfield this season. I think Klopp has thrown an absolute masterstroke. I think he's done a bit of a Jedi mind trick on Milner to get him to left back, and it's really paying off. And to be honest, I'd more than happy to see him play a left back all season the way he started the season. I mean, if this is how he is as he's learning the role, I mean, he's only going to get better. It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me if the England manager, I don't like saying his name, the England manager was wanting to. I know he's retired Milner, but was wanting to explore the option of having Milner play for England at left back, because at the moment he's doing such a good job. And the other thing is, everyone's saying that he's always going to cut in on his right. The cross there for Origi the other night was a swinger's left foot, because he's the type of fella who is going to be staying after training and working on his left foot crossing. He is, because he knows he's got to do that.
And the other
job.
thing is, because he's not a winger in the traditional sense, he's a right midfielder as such. When he played that position, he's not one of these players who thinks, well, when I cut back inside on my right foot, I'm going to make another touch and I'm going to try and take him on. He cuts back inside and he gets the crossing straight away.
But he knows he's going to be more dangerous if he adds that to his locker, because every right back he faces in that position this season is going to be expecting him to cut back in onto his right foot, and if he feigns to do that, he's going to be away on his left side, isn't he? Every time. Well,
like the Dortmund game, I thought he was a dangerous outlet for us on Friday night. I thought his crossing was really good. Or then taking that time to play that pass inside to somebody to you
can't leave him alone. You can't leave, that's again, it's back to the thing of you can't leave him alone, because he can play a lovely little 5-yard ball that frees up Coutinho or Wijnaldum. He can whip it across when he's got it in that area.
Does he play the pass for? Is it Coutinho who takes who crosses it for?
Coutinho crosses it. Yeah.
But does I
think Milner works it into Coutinho. So but it's this idea, I think, though, that you've got this. As I say, you can do. If you want me to criticise left backs, Jay, because we can get really get stuck into the
back in the left back. I'm back in the left back union now, mate. You've strayed far enough.
What frustrates me about the archetypal left back is that he does this. He gets up the line. He's got a bit of pace. He blams one in. That's what he does. Now Milner can.
All right, enough about Paul Moreno.
Paul, it's not. It isn't just him. You go through all, and that's what they do. Whereas you feel as though, I don't know what that is. You feel as though with Milner, he's going to give you. He's got 5 options, and again, this is back to the idea that you're making players on the pitch make decisions. The 2 centre halves, Rob.
I was going to give you one more on Milner.
Give me one more on Milner.
The thing about Milner's also our best crosser of a ball. So where are you going to put him on the pitch where you get to use that? There were times last season that Milner had come to us. He wanted to play centrally, but you saw at Dortmund where I think he crosses with it on his right for that occasion for Lovren. You've got to get Milner in crossing positions on a football pitch. And you know what? Full back, it's a win-win. Anyway, the centre halves. What a couple of guys they are. The greatest centre half pair we've had since when? I thought. Well, the Joel Matip Appreciation Society is growing by the week. He's mildly culpable in the goal, but very mildly. I like the way he tries not to give away a penalty. Very much concentrating on his arms behind his back. Deserves credit for that alone. But generally, his overall play was superb. He breaks forward. I read an interview with him over the weekend, or before the game. We used to play in midfield, and I thought, go figure. Of course he used to play in midfield. He's very, very good. Yeah. You want to see that bit in the first half where he breaks ahead of all the lines. It's just, you go, please, let that happen 2 or 3 times every game. And then this is my favourite centre half for Liverpool.
Imagine when he does it at home. Imagine the reaction when he does it at home and breaks clear. It's going to be fantastic.
He's probably got this thing in his head that thinks he's probably going to get balled by these. He knows what they're like with the goalkeeper. They're getting on everyone's back. Have you seen what the Kemlins are like?
He's just going to run from nowhere. He's going, go ahead, lads!
There's a lot of old fellows who saw Alan Hansen who'll be getting on their feet going, yes!
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Liverpool, one of the oddest things about the Liverpool Liverpool crowd is it's very, very suspicious of almost at times any footballer on the pitch playing football, apart from a centre-half.
Yeah. who can be an absolute reckless loony.
Yeah.
But, Lovren, we keep talking about his rehabilitation because he scarred a lot of people in his first season, but he's a top centre-half, Dejan Lovren, and to me that's a really nice balance we've got with those two lads at the moment.
Yep.
There's just no other way to say it. They both did very well again.
They play as a pair. They played Costa perfectly. I felt
he was never in it really. I mean,
no.
he scores, and that's a bit of a mad sentence. But it wasn't as though the thing about Costa is I saw Chelsea Swansea, and he's in the game all the time. You're like, oh, can someone just get him out the game? He's in the game all the time. The whole football match revolved around him. Not on Friday. He was nowhere near the football. He was completely on the periphery.
Well, he only had, I think, in the first half, towards the end of the first half, it was said that he'd only touched the ball 11 times. And there was a reason. There's a montage doing around on Twitter at the moment of every time the ball was played into Costa in that first half, either Lovren or Matip were taking turns and were into the back of him and nicking the ball around him before he could get to it. And very, very, very aggressive, very front foot defending. And it was the perfect way to play him. I was expecting him to turn into Mr. Nasty at some point in the second half and try and get a rise out of those defenders, but I think he'd have found it very difficult because they both come across, particularly Matip, what we've seen so far. He comes across very cool customer. He doesn't seem to like he's got it in him that he'd whether Costa was pinching him or stamping on him or anything like that. I don't think Matip, by the looks from so far, would be too bothered. I think he'd just carry on, wouldn't ruffle his feathers. He looks very cool.
Have you seen his quote about what he would do if Costa tried to wind him up?
What did he say?
So I think he literally said something like, I wouldn't give a fuck.
Well, there you go.
I think he used an expletive. I'm choosing it to be that one, and in English.
Not on Swatsum, he was really good.
All right,
both centre-halves.
Jordan Henderson. I'll go to you first, Rob. Jordan Henderson's first half especially, I think second half, obviously the game, Liverpool had a bit more on the back foot. He was battling away in there as much as anyone else. But key thing again though, Rob, is God, he doesn't shut up. There's loads and loads and loads and loads and loads and loads of talking. There's loads and loads of harrying. There's back to this idea of the passing and pinging it into each other. They're also pinging it into each other with information on it. You're going that way. Do you want to be bang? Yeah. That's where you're going to go with it next. And I think it's. I thought Henderson was excellent. I feel as though the performance has been coming. He was good second half against Arsenal. A bit of a mess against Burnley, but a lot of them were. But then he grows into he was very good at Spurs, a bit better than very good at Leicester, and now a bit better than very good at Leicester again. Yeah,
he was, one moment aside, he's word perfect in that game. He's absolutely superb. Klopp made the point afterwards, he's still learning what he called the number 6 position. Everything he did was right, and it's almost one of those. If his reputation was, if we were all more settled on Jordan Henderson and he was Steven Gerrard and he caps the lot with that goal, you go, well, that's Jordan. That's 10 out of 10. He was just superb. The only blemish, and I think he shares that blemish with maybe two or three others, was on the goal where he switches off. Two of them, just him and Lallana, just do not track Matic. It's very, very strange abrogation of responsibility considering how well Jordan Henderson played for the rest of the game. But no, that's a 9 out of 10, that one from Jordan.
I thought it was his best performance for the club, actually. His other great performances really came in the 13-14 season, where he was playing in a different position. Really, he was the shuttler, which I felt was Wijnaldum's role on Friday. For Henderson to play in that controlling role and to be as all action as he was, to be so aggressive verbally as well as in the challenge, to dictate the play the way he did. I mean, even take the goal out of the equation, I thought it was his best performance as a Liverpool player. It seemed the most controlled, most knowledgeable, most mature performance in a red shirt that I've seen from Jordan Henderson.
Yeah, it was really good. Particularly, I enjoyed his passing into feet, the kind of stuff we've been talking about, because there'd been a bit of criticism. I can't remember what game it was after now, where there was like a montage doing the rounds again of like bad passes from him, bad touches, ball just not making the man, getting intercepted, going out of play, and he demonstrated he has got that ability, and that'll be good, important for his confidence. The goal, just nothing you can say about it, is it? Marco Grujic's faces just keep showing that. Again, coming to that point of because it was slightly behind on the stream for that goal where I was watching it, I have this thing where for goals like that where it's just marvellous, when Suarez had scored a marvellous goal, not like ones where, we take everyone, but where it's like just a stunning goal, I don't celebrate. I just sort of like marvel at it myself, and just like a little fist pump where it's like amazing. It's just fantastic. And You
almost don't know what to do. You almost can't celebrate it.
You know, literally, and the last time I done it was Lovren's header against Dortmund. You just stood there. Like, I remember just literally standing up, my arms and just literally thinking to myself, fuck me. Because you're just not expecting it. And it's brilliant for us to have that kind of thing. And, you know, I hope it does give him, as Neil says, the confidence against Hull. You know, I'm going to have a shot here, I'm going to have a dig. Because he can hit a ball. He can hit a ball. We just don't use that as an option an awful lot, I think, Liverpool. And, you know, I hope we start to.
You know what the real good thing is there? Emre Can, who we've all thought was a shoe-in as soon as he's fit to get back into the Liverpool team.
He should be.
He should be, yeah, but he's got to be looking at that thinking, where do I get in?
Where do I put him in, yeah.
Where do I get in? Because what you're taking Jordan out of that position after that performance, if he maintains that kind of level or gets close to that level, what are you doing? So, or then you're thinking, well, we'll put Jordan where Wijnaldum is and take Wijnaldum out of the equation. Well, Wijnaldum just put in his best performance in the Liverpool shirt. I think that's great, isn't it? That's
none of them change for Hull.
When lads who you think are a shoe-in for the first team are looking at it going, where do I get in?
Yeah,
then you know you're onto a good thing, aren't you?
Yeah, because the system and the players playing within it has to be king here. Before the game, the late announcement of Firmino's injury, I thought, and I'm a massive Phil Coutinho fan. I thought, I don't want Phil back in here. I want, he does not get in ahead of Sturridge, Mane, and Firmino worked perfectly for me. Emre Can, my second favourite Liverpool player, but he does, 2-3 games ago, as soon as he's fit, he plays at the base of the midfield. No, he doesn't at the moment. Nope. And yet, if you bring them in, if you bring Chan in, you go, Jesus Christ, what a performance I'm sure he'll give, and we won't miss Jordan for a game.
Well, this is we've now been talking for an hour, so I don't want to bang on too much. But this is where you've had a couple of criticisms or questions. People have had a couple of questions around the size of the squad, but it's actually now you mentioned Grujic there. Grujic isn't getting on the pitch at the moment. No. Emre Can's not entirely fit. It could well be we could come to a point this season where we're thinking, God, we could do with one more because legs, because injuries, because it all begins to mount up. But at this stage, there is a feeling of, well, it's going to be hard enough to get Emre in the side if you add another one, and then you'd also be going, well, where on earth does Grujic get to play? We've got young lads who we want to give opportunities to here, and then it becomes harder and harder.
We haven't. I worry about this one because we haven't had an injury crisis, and you don't. It's not. Inevitable, you will have one. There are times where you'll have four or five good players.
You have 3 players in one position, but then I think almost no matter how big your squad is, if you get 3 players in one position, it becomes difficult.
But you could. It's possible to have 3 to 4 of your first 15 out, and you see even up front, people go, "We're well stocked." But Origi, you can see Origi, a negative on it, but Origi in his cameos is not looking the Origi that we got him into being towards the end of last season. He's doing exactly what was always possible, that given his youth, his rawness, that he would take a step back before he goes forward again. So now we're in a position, I suppose the compensation for that in our squad has been Firmino's emergence as something akin to, you might as well be a world-class striker, whether you want to call him a striker or not. So that gives us an option if Sturridge gets a knock. So I suppose your implied question is, are we still a bit light? I think maybe.
In centre mid, for instance, there, Lucas came on and did a bit of centre mid. He's got Grujic on the bench, he's got Kev Stewart on the bench, and he has Ajaria on the bench.
Yeah.
Now, if he rates Stewart and Ajaria, then that's up to him, because he sees them a lot more than I have. Even Kevin Stewart, who I think looks really good at times. He's still making that. At some point, so are those lads going to play at Derby? My point on this is that if you were to add one more, and I can, by the way, hugely see the argument right now for bringing Houdin in January when there's no pressure on him ideally to play, just to get used to Liverpool and get used to the club between January and June, with one eye on next season. I mean, that's what we used to do. I was actually looking at when you do shows around what's been our best transfer window. You remember that Liverpool bought Aldridge in a February with an eye on the following season. Yeah. Lawrenson came in a March, April with an eye on a following season. Heskey. There's loads of lads who came in a March and April with an eye on a following season. So don't get me wrong, that's no bad thing. But anyway, it's a huge digression when we're only halfway through. Wijnaldum, Stu, was, again, probably his best performance for Liverpool.
Yeah, really, just what I said before. His performance reminded me of Henderson's from 3 seasons ago. Yeah. He was just perpetual motion. He was everywhere, and his pace when receiving the ball, he's able to make a very quick decision on whether to, when he gets the ball, lay it off, quick 1-2 touch pass, or to carry it. If he sees space, if he identifies it, he's straight into it at real pace. And again, it's just another piston that we've got firing. It's another level of dynamism we've got in our midfield. And from when we start on the podcast saying that at times we've looked pedestrian in recent years, we certainly don't do now. There's another option there.
Athleticism was the word I was going to use to describe him, and just that, because he offered that. He got forward very quickly with the ball. again, I said it before, it didn't look like he was going to shoot or necessarily play an incisive pass, but he got forward, he occupied that space, put them on the back foot, which was really good for us.
I think we're only seeing 70% of the player, and I think he's doing very, very well.
I thought he looked shattered.
Yes, I knew. Everybody was right.
Well, that probably showed with the injury, didn't it?
He ran himself into the ground. He was a massive contributor, one of the men of the match, probably half a dozen men of the match. He was good against Leicester, he was better against Chelsea, and I don't think we've come anywhere near seeing what he can do.
Next one's Lallana, who, Rob, before you were saying was could well be your man of the match. It was a terrific performance.
Yeah, I said, coming from me, it's more important to you, Adam, because I wasn't a fan of yours about a year ago, so be very grateful for this. No, he's winning me. Yeah, I know. What an ego. Yeah, he's been winning me personally over match by match by match. His numbers are looking a bit better. It's becoming a cliche now that it's helped him being further back, that he doesn't have the issue of checking back and slowing the play. But I don't know, more than ever. I'm watching him more conscious of him, but the pressing thing alone, he's like a sort of makes Dirk Kuyt look a bit of a slouch. It's a strange one because at Southampton he had a rep for sort of lacking a bit of fitness and being the first to be taken off after 70 minutes. Maybe what Southampton fans were missing was he was running a lot.
Well, what he also had whilst he was at Southampton, I remember when we were speaking to me about it, he was also doing the most sprints.
Yeah, well, evidently,
So it's just that he's now sort of taking that into 90 minutes. Though I thought, again, he did look a little bit tired, but it's perfectly understandable, Stu, because he ran himself into the ground. As the manager said afterwards, that they all did. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think you can forgive a lot of Liverpool fans' frustrations with Adam Lallana in the past, because I, like a lot of Liverpool fans, felt that when we bought him, he was bought for Rodgers' diamond. And so I felt he was going to play more centrally, closer to the position he's playing now. And that was abandoned very quickly, and he became a wide player. And Adam Lallana does not have the natural attributes to play effectively wide and get numbers in a front three, because he doesn't have the pace to get away from a man. He'd always have to stop and then try and beat him again or cut back inside, and it was very frustrating because you felt that at times he slowed down Liverpool's play. There was certainly an argument for that. Now that move centrally, it's taken the pressure off him to get the numbers, and ironically he started to score. His ability to hold up the ball and keep the ball, which at times when he was playing on the right of a front three was frustrating. Now it's a huge asset. He's able to take a few seconds out of the game. He's able to hold it up and wait for support, and he also, and I think this is the most important, this is the thing that why Klopp loves him most, I think, of all, because he sets the tone of the press from the first whistle. Yeah, he sets the press, and for me, he, along with two or three other players, and it's great to be able to say this, are the first names on the team sheet. Normally, when you say the first name on the team sheet, you mean one lad, but I think there's two or three lads that are
changing every week for me. The first name on the team sheet. That's what's been every season, every game. Sorry.
The thing with Lallana for me, coming behind that point, is the criticisms of him is at times when Liverpool have looked good, he's looked good, and when Liverpool haven't, he hasn't. On this occasion, I think he more so contributed to that, which I think was an important step up. Again, maybe we're just seeing it as a one-off, and people who, in 2 weeks' time, if we come on this same show and say Lallana didn't offer it there, but I hope it serves as a confidence boost to these players to say I can give that performance away from home against a good Chelsea team, a very dominantly performance. I hope they remember back from that and use it as like almost muscle memory for themselves now, because I think it's important that these players, because what these players offer you is they're by and large consistent. We've talked about a 7 out of 10, 7 out of 10s. We're going to get that. Liverpool's missing ingredient is quality and consistency. Now, if these players are able to develop into those players that offer you more quality, a bit like, not putting them in the same bracket, but a bit like Alonso when we signed him. Alonso was a consistent player when we signed him. We got him for £10 million, which is a decent amount of money. Other clubs were interested, but he wasn't the Alonso that left. Wasn't the Alonso that left Liverpool or the Alonso that you've got now.
No,
he developed that.
He hasn't been that season, yeah.
And I think if you can get these players now starting to offer that a bit more, starting to improve, the quality, so that, there's 7 out of 10s there, but you see a few more 8s and 9s thrown in, I think that'll be really important for Liverpool, because that'll be what you get, how you get those Chelsea performances.
Well, Coutinho, Jay, I'll come back to you first on this, and it was almost as though you could see a bit more flexibility. I think if Firmino starts, and I'm not to say that we wouldn't even have won better or won differently if Firmino had started, but it looked a little bit more like Coutinho was playing in midfield. It did at times almost look like there was Mane and Sturridge were given the attacking responsibilities, and Coutinho was coming and filling in more. And he managed to play a 7 out of 10. I think this is
and we didn't rely on him.
Well, I think this is a big deal, is that Coutinho just turned up, played 7 out of 10, and Liverpool went to Stamford Bridge and won 2-1.
Yeah, Coutinho was just one of 11 players on Friday night, which was really good for us. You know, I don't remember him having to try and get shots off. He always had a better option. He used it a bit more cleverly, and I think we done this on a show the other week, didn't we? Where we picked what your Liverpool team would be, and we went 4-3-3, and we put Coutinho in midfield, and I think that shows, you know, against teams like Chelsea that can work. You know, because they're going to come out and play at some point. And if you're getting a lot of the ball, as we did in the first half, having Coutinho, you know, in their half as one of your midfielders on the ball is really good, because he's got these other players running off him. He's got these other players offering things.
I agree it was a 7 out of 10. I don't think we're getting the full throttle Coutinho at the moment. It almost seems a bit of a pattern with him.
But we don't need to, do we? I think that was what was really important. We didn't need to on Friday night.
No, we didn't. He seems to be bright Coutinho pattern is a bright pre-season, and he picks up a strange start to a season. He picks up a little injury about a few matches. It's almost, you can set your watch by it, and then takes a few matches to get into his stride. He was 7 out of 10. He has got more. He did a couple of things which were hugely Coutinho-esque impressive, including the assist for the first goal. And there's a sprint where he gets chopped down in the first half. Not a sprint, a dribble where he ploughs through them like he's Messi. But a couple of times he not worried me, but he let himself down. He tries to get the ball out his feet and beat a man far too deep when the ball needs to be released quicker in his own half. I think in the second half, in the first half, so when we were under pressure on a couple of occasions.
That's the consequence of having an attacking in your midfield, isn't it?
That is, yeah.
He's thinking of doing that job. You know, when it works, it's brilliant.
You're absolutely right. I felt he had just a very 7 out of 10 game, but within that 7 out of 10 game, he has the assist, but he also puts the key pass into James Milner for the Origi chance, and that's a hell of a ball, because he had to almost rugby tackle the referee at the same time.
Yes, he did.
And he had the wherewithal to put that ball through, and it was weighted absolutely superbly. So if you've got a player like Coutinho who is just coasting through a game, he's just part of the machine rather than a key piston, but he's still got that within his locker, even in a game where he's just a 7 out of 10. It's great, isn't he? You know, you've got those options.
Just to join Neil's crew of disagreeing with Rob on his comments about players, you've said that Coutinho had a bright pre-season, and then he's not very good at it's a great crew, and then doesn't start the season brilliantly. Last 2 seasons, mate, he scored absolute worldies in the first game of the season.
He gets an injury after about
if he gets injured next week, I'm going to kill you.
He's had an injury already.
At least come near the microphone, Rob.
Sorry, he has had an injury. He's had an injury already, hasn't he? And I think it's a little bit of signs it's holding him back slightly. Before the international break, or just after, sorry.
Do you know, Jay, you mentioned earlier on about how we haven't scored as many goals from outside the box, and it was great that Jordan Henderson. It really surprised me actually. I read or saw something yesterday that said that Liverpool have actually scored more goals from outside the box this year than anybody else.
Fucking hell, what are we doing? Getting into telling everyone we're wrong?
I know.
See you, lads.
But you know what?
People pay a £5 to listen to this, as Neil says.
This is free. Don't forget that. But that, you know, that by and large is probably because of Coutinho, isn't it? Though, but for all those shots that he's had that have gone in, how many have gone out the stadium? You know, I don't know where I'm really going with that, but it was.
We'll cut this from the market and bump that, mate.
I suppose I was happy to see a game where Phil Coutinho, in a 7 out of 10 game for him, where he wasn't completely shining, wasn't blamming it over the bar.
Can I just say, you know where I said like we all should be able to disagree with each other? I think that comment right now.
And also, I'm conscious I've got a table book for half one, which I thought was safe, lads. To be honest with you,
this is great. I don't want to go home.
On your agenda, you've got pick the team for Derby, so let's do that.
Well, we've got to do Sturridge. I want to do Sturridge and Mane. I want to talk about Sturridge.
Love him.
Well, Mane.
We just say Mane was good.
Mane was good. I thought Sturridge was dead interesting. I thought the difference between Sturridge and Origi was dead interesting in that we've a lot of the lazy conversations around Sturridge.
Jay, he doesn't do all the running.
That he doesn't do all the running, firstly, but secondly, that he's not as generous in his movement and blah blah blah. And that someone like Origi does more of it. And I thought Origi really struggled to get the pace of the game, struggled to get the tactical requirements of what was going on. Yes, it's a different phase of the game by the time he comes on. Whereas I thought Sturridge, if that Sturridge is 7 out of 10, or even if you want to tell me it's a 6, he doesn't have to do loads for absolutely everybody on the pitch, loads of movements.
Much like Leicester, he keeps offering that. I think the thing with and this will be because I think Klopp's around them a lot more, and those Origi is playing like he did last year when he came on against Tottenham. So Origi when he come on against, or did he start against Tottenham? Did he start against Tottenham? Origi when he come on against Chelsea was doing the usual thing, running that channel, harass that player, running straight lines. He done that against Tottenham. He will come back into that. He needs to get into games. When Daniel Sturridge wasn't playing, he didn't come on against Tottenham. He played him against Burton, and he scored 2 goals. Jurgen Klopp knows exactly what he's done here. I think he's eased the player back in. He's eased him into playing football. He's eased him into being confident in his own body. Play in this system. Be used to it, mate. This is what I need you to do. And he's done it. And he's come in now and he's demonstrated it. And, and all this criticism, Daniel Sturridge, he can't run flat out. He can't. I was playing footy on Friday night, so I jumped back in the car to go home and watch the match. And they were talking about it on 5 Live, and they were saying Michael Owen. And it's actually a point I'd made. Michael Owen had said he'd noticed it in Daniel Sturridge, and I always used to have this criticism from Michael Owen when he'd come back from an injury. He always seemed more concerned about England because he'd never run flat out. And Michael Owen had said to one of the commentators, he's seen against Leicester Daniel Sturridge running flat out. He said, and I can just know from looking at being that player who was once injured, with a muscular injury, when you can run flat out, you can just see the difference in the player. You can just see that he's not thinking about it. He just goes. He doesn't think, oh, can I make that ball? He just goes. And Daniel Sturridge was doing an awful lot of that on Friday night, which benefits, again, it gives you, when you're occupying the space in their half, them centre-halves know they've got to follow Daniel Sturridge because it's Daniel Sturridge. So they've got to drop deeper because Daniel Sturridge is getting in behind. So they drop deeper, and that leaves that same kind of space for someone like Henderson, Wijnaldum, Lallana to operate in, which is really important for us.
He might not have scored against Leicester or Chelsea, but he's had 2 back-to-back games there where he's shown great intelligence in how to lead the line, and he's been very unselfish in his play, the runs that he's making. I did feel against Chelsea rather than against Leicester he played a little bit within himself, but the intelligence in his movements, his hold-up play, and in talking to the players around him was excellent.
He played as part of that system instead of playing as people think of Daniel Sturridge being a number 9.
Yeah, I watch his body language. Watch him and celebrating the goals with the other lads at the moment. He's really getting into it.
Yeah.
He's properly bought into the team ethos. I know it's almost an implied damning with faint praise comment now, and I don't mean it to be that because I think he's becoming more a player within a system. I think he looks as sharp as he's ever looked.
And he's also 27.
Yeah,
and there's a point here which is that he's one of Liverpool's senior players, and it's that straightforward. He's been at the club now for 4 seasons, and he's also one of Liverpool's senior pros in terms of the fact that you look at what he's done before he's arrived at Liverpool, and now he's of a certain age. Yeah. So no wonder he's getting absolutely stuck in. All right, then, sum it up. You can pick me a team for Derby. Pick me a team for Derby. I'll tell you what, I'll pick you a team for Derby because I've been thinking about it. And this is the side that I'd pick for Derby is Karius in goal.
Right.
Yeah. I'd have Karius in goal, yeah. Just like, are you Peter McDahlia?
I'll do Peter.
I'm for Liverpool.
Number
7.
So we'll do Karius in goal. I would play Nathaniel Klein at right back.
There's no one else, is there?
I would play. Well, he's got Alexander-Arnold, but I'd play Klein at right back. I'd play Matip and Lovren. No. I'd give them both a game. Klavan's not 100% at this stage, and I don't think he's going to be going near Sacco. Yeah, I might be tempted, Jay, to bring Lucas in for one of them.
I think you've got to just. I think you've got to give other players a game. I think. Yeah. I know.
So would you bring Lucas in for one?
Yeah, I didn't know how far Klavanov was from being fit. I don't know where Sacco's up to, but I think there's an argument for at least giving him maybe even a half or 30 minutes because I think you've got to play. I know he said this against Burton. It's too early to rest players. I think the problem now it's not even about resting players; it's getting them other players ticking over.
So would you go with Lucas?
I think you've got to bring him in. Yeah.
So you go with Lucas, okay. So will we all go with Lucas then?
I would.
So who are you who you're resting out of Lovren and Matip, not dropping, but resting?
I'd probably take Matip out of it.
You play Matip out, so you go Lovren and Lucas off the basis of the fact that Lovren's missed a game.
Lovren's used to those games, I think.
That's why I liked what we did at Burton. I think there's good gaps between the games either side of this one. I think we go strong as possible with maybe 2 changes for Jay's philosophy's sake. But otherwise, I wouldn't give Lucas a game at centre back.
You wouldn't? Okay.
No. I might give Moreno a go at left back.
I was going to say I'd probably throw Moreno at left back.
I think you've got to play him.
Moreno at left back. Any arguments?
Yeah, I'd play Moreno at left back. Yeah,
Moreno at left back. All right.
Milner needs a blow for no reason. You just want to keep Milner Milner plays 27 league games for us this year, left back.
Yeah.
Apart from when he may be injured or there's...
The argument as well for bringing these lads isn't just as well for morale, it's also for the Lucas one, for example. If Lovren or Matip get an injury in the next few weeks,
to play football.
He needs to play football.
Yeah, we need them to play football, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we're only Rob's in descent on the back five.
Rob seems to be in distress. That's why changing this team. It's fine. It's fine. I'm looking at that window, thinking, I hope they haven't got parachutes up here for Rob.
Are you going to Derby, Rob?
Yeah, but
are you going to Derby? Yeah. This is why.
I pick Henderson.
Is Emre fit?
But he wasn't on the bench against Chelsea. I'd pick Henderson.
Yeah, this is a tricky one.
I think you play Grujic as well, though.
Well, I was going to move
You're
forward.
You're playing a League Cup team here, Joe, which is a fair shout.
Full enough, mate. It's the League Cup.
No, but you know what I mean. A League Cup. Yeah.
How mad am I?
You know what I mean. There's two approaches: is going strong or there's playing in inverted commas.
These
League
players
Cup
need to play, don't they? If Chan's not back and Henderson picks up a knock, say Henderson, Wijnaldum play on Tuesday night. Wijnaldum looked like he has a bit of a muscular strain or something. He seemed to pull up quickly. If they play on Tuesday night and get injured, Grujic has got to play. Yeah. Someone's got to come and play.
We're not talking about just throwing a bunch of kids out. We're talking about Lucas. Grujic looks a good player.
Yeah,
Moreno, these are first team quality lads.
What I'd do, and I think what I'm driving at here, and we're doing it a little bit differently, so maybe I should have said this. I'd do 3 or 4 changes, and I wouldn't do 7 or 8 changes. So, for instance, I'd play Grujic and Lallana ahead of Henderson. And I'd be looking to get Lallana off the pitch on 60 and then introducing probably Wijnaldum or Ajari if the game's going very well for us. Yeah, and then in attack, I'd pick, depending on where Firmino is, if Firmino is fit, I'd play Firmino as he didn't play against Chelsea. And then I'd probably rest Coutinho and I'd be looking at playing Origi and then playing either Mane or Sturridge. And again, I'd be looking at changing it on 60. Does that all sound
Is Ings injured?
Ings, no, but he's not even been in the 18. I'd consider playing Ings, but I don't want to make more than 4, if you know what I mean.
But I think Ings is on the bench then to come on for one of those.
That's
Ings
fine.
He's got to be on the bench.
Yeah.
He's got to get minutes, Ings. Only because it's that same thing, isn't it? For kids, you can excuse the kids not playing football. But these lads, I'd be knocking on the door saying, hang on, mate, we're playing really well. I'm asking to be on the bench. I'm asking for 30 minutes at Derby. If only because at some point, if Danny Ings isn't in the team by January, he might be knocking on the door saying, I want to leave.
If Ings isn't getting minutes against Derby, when's he getting them?
Exactly.
But Origi needs minutes. And
I'll play minutes. I play Origi. I'd have Ings on the bench. I'd have Ings on the bench, but I probably would play Mane.
Ings and Origi.
I probably would play Mane and I'd play Firmino if you could as well.
Derby are rubbish, by the way, at the moment. Really playing badly.
They've only scored 2 goals, haven't they, this season?
Below Burton in the league, 3rd, 4th from bottom.
He's done a bit of scouting.
But they're meant to be
a show on Channel 5 yesterday.
One of the more highly rated sides, the expectation is they will be in or around the playoffs by the time they get it all sorted out. So
they were decent last season.
Yeah, they're a decent side.
A colleague of mine is a Derby fan and was being a smart ass commenting on an Everton fan's Facebook yesterday saying, because he said that Everton weren't getting the recognition they need for being second and Liverpool have had a great start, usual Evertonian stuff. And this Derby fan had commented saying, it's their year, putting this accent on. I just think, I can't wait to fucking smash you on Tuesday.
Excellent stuff. That's let's get Jay McKenna in to do that team talk. Jurgen Klopp clearly did a fantastic one before Chelsea. Liverpool went to Stamford Bridge. They won by 2-1. They absolutely decimated Chelsea. Liverpool have now been to London 3 times, picked up 7 points, looked absolutely phenomenal. Derby, then Hull, win, Reds, please.